Hi, and hope you're doing well. I'm Jadi, and we're continuing our river raid in Rust. I got 4 very nice and good pull requests. On the previous one, I merged 3 of them. Sorry, Mitinol sent a very nice one, which was fixing keyboard bug for Windows. I merged it, but with a problematic push. I pushed my code, then I closed this. Sorry, Mitinol, this is merged. I am waiting for your next valuable pull requests. If you are not familiar with it, when you put a project on GitHub or any Git solution, people can clone the code, change it, make something better, and push them to their own repository and ask you to pull their changes. My direction was wrong. Send them to their repository and ask you to pull their changes, and you will have their changes. These are called pull requests. For example, here, Mr. Sajjadine or Sajjad Adine have sent one. It says, okay, these are my file changes. It's at end of game message and display functionality. At the end of the game, it says, clears the screen, goes to in the middle of the screen, writes, good game, thanks, waits for 3 seconds and clears the screen. A nice end game message. So I merged this, unfortunately. Because later I've thought it would be better if I recorded checking this, merging this, pushing them, accepting the merge request. So on the next ones, I will do that. If you are going to send a pull request, please keep in mind, if you are changing lots of things, adding new features, it's better to open an issue first. We will talk about it. I don't want this to magically grow. I want people to see step by step how this grows. If you're fixing a bug or something, just go ahead and do it. Another one which was very nice was from Mr. Arvmore, Mr. Arvmore, at least based on the features. Added enums, optimization, enhancing functions. It looks like he's a better Rust programmer than me. He added some good additions. For example, this one I've talked about in the previous video, that this is a better method to do it. Instead of having something like died and setting it to true, it's better to have a struct which says player status. It can be dead, alive, animation, or paused. So in different places we can check if the game is paused, we can check if we are showing an animation and these kind of stuff, instead of having dead or alive. He also added some other things. One very important thing is this one. I created an struct word and it had some features, my struct, and when initiating the game, I created a word with some initial values. This is not very rustic. The better thing, rustic is just a made up word from Pythonic. A better method would be creating some function called new on the word. So he says implement on the word function new. So whenever I have a new instance of this struct, it would be like this. So it's kind of initializing. Much nicer. Thank you, Mr. Arvmore. And here made these more compact, much nicer. Here made them... this is also very nice. Instead of doing if this, if that, if then, he says just run the compare. Just write, call the compare. If it's greater, if it's less, if it's equal, do something. Again, more Rust-like and cleaner. Also, he added something which was very important. Somewhere I was returning the word from my physics. He removed that with the idea that this is mutable, so the changes will be saved. We don't need to return the word. Okay, nice ones. Thank you for all the pull requests. Also, we have another one from Mitinol, I said, fixing this one. end of the game, this one, and also Herod have sent us lots of changes for code readability, something like a linting. In programming, we call it linting, making the code look better, no extra spaces, no very long lines, these kind of stuff. So thank you very much. Most of these did had one space at the end, for example. The extra long line is removed. This is called linting. But because we had lots of other changes, I closed this one. Sorry, Herod, but thank you. Highly appreciated, especially nice message and everything. So, where were we? We were writing a river raid game, which I was calling river ride, but found out, okay, it's about raid, it's not a ride. And one of the friends added this nice fancy UTF-8 boat instead of the character P for player. So we were here, nice enough. But we need some enemies because it's a raid, it's not a ride. So what I'm going to do in this video, we had this river, we have our boats moving here, captain here, because it's a boat now, we are going to add some enemies. This is not enemy. I was thinking about bombs, honestly. We will add some enemies. So we have to maneuver between them. If we have time, we will go for firing a cannon and killing enemies because it's a raid. How I'm going to do this? I have my boat here. I can say every time on the physics, I can add one enemy somewhere in the river. And then I will keep track of my enemies like a vector. I will have a vector for the enemies and depends on how you show it. Vector. And we will move them down one by one. If they're exiting from here, we will eliminate the enemy and we will enter new ones by random. So I will need an enemy struct. I will need to create new enemies by random. Sometimes on the first line, I will need to add them to the vector of this struct and move them down, check if we hit each other and these kind of stuff. Let's start coding. I have the code here. Okay. This is our original code. We will go to a better direction. Instead of saving like enemies position, enemies blah blah, I will create a struct. I will say I will have struct enemy. Each enemy do have one column. That would be U16. One line, that would be U16. The position of the enemy. I might have something else later, but at the moment I don't need. I may add them later. And in the word, I have enemy as a vector of enemy. Nice. Enough. And in the implementation, it says you have an error because you should have something as an enemy. This is a change our friend done with the sheep, and so captain is here. We will go with the, again, enemy. It's good to think about if I'm going to use plurals or not. I'm not using them. So enemy, player, river, whatever. Enemy. It's a vector and we start with an empty vector. Let's run. It's always good to run and test your program. Better to see errors sooner than later. Nothing happens. We only have an struct for the enemy never used. Oh, let's try. So, first in my physics, I need to create some enemies. Let's go to the physics. My physics. Okay. We have moved the map downward. When the map is moved, we will create a new enemy. Create new enemy. Maybe. I would say if same logic. Only in 1 of 10. Generate a random number between 0 and 10 if it's larger than 9. Sorry, I was partying hard. And I have a voice problem because I shouted a lot. Captain's party hard. So, if this happens, I need a new enemy. Where it should be. This is my map. This is line 0. So the enemies L will be 0. But what about C? C should be here, right? And how can I see where the random should go? We had the word map 0. It had pointed to X and Y. X is here, Y is here. So I have to create a random number between word map 0, because I want it on the top line, between the 0th number and first element, because it's something like X and Y. So word map 0 dot 0 will point to this, dot 1 will point to this. So here I can say add one enemy to my enemy. I can say new enemy equals, so I need a let. My new enemy equals struct enemy. I need one L and one C. What is my L? Always 0, because I always add the enemy on top. What is my C? It's RNG generate between this range, between word map 0, 0 to word map 0, 1. The first line of the map, start and end of the river. So we added a new enemy. And we have a problem here. Why? Okay, what is this? We added this. Okay, created a variable. Then I have to add this to the list of my enemies. On word enemy, I had a vector. So I will say push to the vector, which pushes to the end of the vector. If you don't know about that, I have a search here. I can search Rust vector. You can go for the std, see how vectors work. It says, okay, you have some append, which moves all of the elements of other into the self, adds a vector to the vector. But we need, for example, you have the insert. Insert an element at a specific position. You also have push. It says appends an element to the back of the collection. Okay, so we are pushing ourselves to the enemies we already have. Don't push your enemies too hard. Don't make enemies. If you don't have enemies, new enemy. Now we pushed one to our enemies. This is so cool. What we can do. Now we have our enemies. Let's show them. On the draw the player. Before drawing the player, we draw enemies. Draw enemies. I would say for E enemy in word enemy. In all enemies, do this. Why? Cannot move out of. Okay. This is Rust things. I want to use it. Okay, for each enemy in word enemies, it's not good to use a one-letter variable, but in these specific cases, I say I have a very small loop, and it's obvious that this is enemy. Okay, for E in enemy, I should draw something like this. I was drawing the player here. I don't like this too flush to be part of drawing the player, but it's okay. I would say SCQ to the enemy. C enemy L, move here, then run the print what? Print whatever enemy looks like, which is E. Done. Okay. So move to the, for each enemy, go to the place of the enemy and write an E. This should be okay. Let's run. Cool. You can see that enemies are being added, but they are not being removed. So, what I need now is moving the enemies downside. I have my show enemies. I will go to the physics. Physics, we had this to create new enemies. Maybe. Later, we will have move enemies on the river. It would be enough to say for E in, word enemy. I have to say if, I wanted to say E. Let's write it first, the easiest way. Then I will show you what I am going to do later. I can say for every enemy line, add one to it. So enemies will go outside the word. It says, okay, this is not mutable. We say, okay. Don't be so Rust. That's why in Rust you have fewer and fewer bugs, memory bugs, because it says, okay, you are changing this variable, but you haven't mentioned that this variable can be changed. So let's run it. Cool, now our enemies are moving, but they are going to be stacked on the bottom of the page. So what we are going to do for this? We can say move this. This was what I was thinking about. I have a vector of enemies. I have a vector of all of them. One by one, I'm going through one by one. We're adding one to the line. So each enemy will be lower and lower. But I need to be able to eliminate enemies. If an enemy is outside the river from the downside, I have to eliminate it. So instead of that for E in blah blah, I will go with an index. I will say with for I in word enemy len 0 to that one. I will go one by one. I will describe you why I'm adding this reverse, but it's very common in these kind of loops to add the reverse. I will say, okay, for any of these, word enemy I. This points to this specific enemy, right? I will say it's L, add one to its L. Then I will say if its L is larger than word max L's, if it's going outside of this, or even if it's equal, it's nicer. What you should do is you have to word enemy, remove enemy number I. Very easy and very beautiful. What we are doing, we are saying we have a vector of enemies. I will move one by one on every single of them. First the 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. And each time I say, okay, if word enemy number I, which is 0, add 1 to its line. So it goes 1 down. Something is happening. Ettesalat is going to buy something. Shiralat. I will go down. If the enemy is outside Mark's word lines, remove from enemies the index number I. So if number 1 L lines exceeds the page, I will remove that one. why we have this reverse with an error? Okay, I can see why we have the error. Because this should be reversed. The line number cannot be reversed. I'm saying, okay, go one by one, do this. But what's the problem? I'm checking the first one, not the 0, 1. I'm checking the first one. It's outside the page, so I will remove this. Then I will be 2. But these will be shifted upwards. This makes sometimes some bugs. So the better way is try the last one. So if I remove this one, next I'm trying the... Did you get my point? If I'm removing one with this command because this enemy is outside of our river, outside of our word, I will remove this. So next time when I'm saying 2, practically I'm pointing to this one. I have jumped over one. So that's why we start reversed. We'll check the 5, then 4, then 3, then 2, then 1, then 0. So if I'm checking 3 and removing 3 from the enemy list, next one I will try 2. Nothing will happen for the ones I'm going to check in the future. This is the reason that many programmers will try this reverse when doing this kind of removing something from memory and such. Anyway, so now this looks fine. Let's run it. Now our enemies are moving and disappearing when reaching to the end of the word. But these are super safe enemies because I can hit them without dying. Something happened. Panicked. On line 108, attempt to subtract with overflow. This is where we're going out of here, most probably. 108. Yes, we have a to-do list here. We are subtracting from numbers, and this can go outside the range. This should be checked. If you want to solve something, sending a PR, this is a good opportunity, but please check. Someone else might have sent a PRB for you. And the point is, I have to accept one of them and reject the others. Sorry, but the main point is learning. It's not being the person whose PR is accepted. Okay, so we have this bug here. And everything is okay, except that we can pass over enemies. We have to die when we hit an enemy. So on the physics, check if player hit the ground. We need check if player hit enemy. For E in word enemy, check every single enemy one by one. If EL equals word player L and EC equals player what? Word, okay. Word player C. If an enemy is on the player, what happens? Unfortunately, we die. We can say word status equals player status dead. I'm just rewriting this. We change the status, and this dead uses capital D. This is very nice. So if we hit enemy, we just die. Why this doesn't work here? Cannot move out of okay. I need this. We are in a Rust. We have to explicitly say what we are doing. Now, if we hit an enemy, we die. Let's see. Where is enemy? Good game. Now, we have lots of fun things. Beautiful. So, what else? Let's shoot bullets. Why not? We still have time, right? Yes, 24 minutes. So, I'm here. Enemies are here. I can shoot a bullet. What happens if I shoot a bullet? in case I hit space, a bullet should start from here and go here, 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 here. Let's try it. Very easy peasy. Here I can say on the struct enemy, I can have another struct bullet, and every bullet has a location. I can add an energy to my bullet because bullets shouldn't survive all the game. Bullets should stop somewhere. You can say, okay, it stops when it hits the top of the river or borders or an enemy or whatever. In this case, I can say, no, it's more fun to have a range to shoot. I can say I can only shoot 10 pixels or something. This is my idea about the energy. At the beginning, it's better to have only one bullet, but we are planning for more. So I created a bullet, and here I can say bullet is a vector from bullet. And when initializing the word, there is no bullet, so it's an empty vector. Very nice. Let's try our game. Now it has bullets, but there is no mechanism to shoot bullets. But who cares? It runs, and I die. So, here when we were managing the keys, also our friends have added up, down, left, and right for the arrow keys. I can say, copy this one. Copy pasting always makes problems, but let's do it. Okay, I say if space is used, I want to add a bullet, but only if there is only one bullet in the game. I don't want to just push lots of bullets to enemies. Maybe I will do in the later, who knows. So I would say if word bullet len equals 0, do this only if there is no bullet on the page. So I would say bullet equals from struct bullet. What I need, bullet should start where I am. So bullet C equals word player C, and I should have a let here, and bullets L equals player L. We just created a bullet. Let this. Now I have to add this bullet which I created to the list of bullets. So I would say word bullet append other. It was not append, it was push. Push bullet. Very, very clear. Why this has a problem? Okay, bullet has an energy. So I will say its energy is 10. For example, it works for 10 pixels. It says let bullet equals bullet. I created a bullet and said, okay, add to the list of bullets this one. And on the draw, I need to show all of these bullets. Check if player hit enemy, move the map downward. When the map is moved, this is in the physics. On the draw the player, draw the bullet. I would say for B in word bullet SC. See here, times and times and times I'm saying I want to draw this character on this position, and each time I'm repeating these two lines of move and print. It would be nicer if I create one function like draw to say, okay, draw this character in this position. That would be much nicer. But it's only two lines, so let's continue. But this is another improvement point. I can say, okay, my command is move to where bullet C and bullet L. Okay, move there. Then Q another command. Our command is print whatever my bullet is, say this one. And that's it, right? So I draw my bullet. Let's see. Whenever I hit the space, I'm adding a bullet in that location and drawing it. But it stays here. It's more like laying an egg rather than shooting a bullet. Because whenever I hit a space in this location, now I have a bullet. It doesn't change, it doesn't move, nothing. It doesn't do anything. So what I need to do is first I need to make that bullet move on my physics. Check if player hit enemy. Create a new enemy. Maybe move enemies on the river. And move the bullets. Right. I would say, again, we will use the same pattern. Because we need to remove bullets somewhere. We can say for I in bullet list, move on all the bullets. What I should do? I should say if my bullet has energy. So first we have to say if word bullet number I. I'm working with this bullet, so I will copy this to make everything easier. Energy equals 0. Just word bullet, remove that specific bullet. Okay, if it still has energy, what should be done? I have to move it forward, but that's a problem. If I move it 1, it will just goes with me. So I have to add 2. But it's a little bit complicated because I can say this is my river. I'm here. I'm shooting a bullet. Captain. I'm shooting a bullet. My bullet starts here. Each time I have to add 2 to the bullets. So it's moving faster than me. But the point is where my bullet is. So my bullet first time is here, second time is here, third time is here. If I have an enemy here, it won't see the bullet. I want to be able to shoot the bullets, enemies. But let's start from the beginning. Let's subtract 2 every single time. So I will say if bullet energy is 0, say word bullet number I L minus 2. Okay, subtract 2. Here, you might have an issue with crashes and everything, because if it goes less than 0. But let's see. So I'm moving my bullet. And if my bullet's energy is done, I'm removing the bullet. So here I need to also subtract from its energy. Move bullet dash I energy minus 1. Also subtracting 1 from my energy. Let's see. Cool. Main panicked on line 159. Overflow. 159. Exactly. Here I'm subtracting 2 from the lines and it can't go below 0. So I can say here if this specific bullet's energy is done, or word bullet dash I copied this and never used this. L is 2, and if it's reaching to the top of the page, just eliminate the bullet. Otherwise, show the bullet. Let's see. Now this is cool. Do I die by hitting? Yes, we added dying to the... Wow. I dodged the enemy. This is a... Okay, we reached there. This bug should be fixed. This is very ugly. But the point is, when you have a ship like this, sometimes it's very problematic because this is a UTF-8 and this consists of two different characters combined in one. In terminal, you cannot be sure that if this is here or here. And this makes things ugly. You can see that when I'm selecting this, this is the wet. When I'm selecting this, this is the wet. So it's two characters. Unfortunately, we cannot use that fancy ship. I will change it to this, but later we can find some of the characters are fancy enough and are only one character. Or we can check later. See, now I'm dying correctly. Later we can check if this part or this part is on the enemy. Would be nicer. But let's go with the P at the moment to not seeing those kind of bugs. Now we are shooting enemies, but enemies do not die. So let's fix that one. It should happen on our physics. Here we are checking if a player hit enemy. We have a loop on the enemy. We can change this and say if enemy hit something. And instead of this, go like I, because we need to be able to remove enemies from the word. And we can say in mutable word enemy, because we want to, oh no. Because we are just checking the indexes. So in range of 0 to the word enemy len rev, as we do many cases, then we can check. Instead of all these e's, I should have word enemy number I. So let's fix this one first. Word enemy C. Okay. Ugly. This is linting, but I'm doing it manually. Okay. If this happens, we will die. Let's try it. Same thing, but going over indexes. Okay, we died. I'm going one by one on enemies. I want to see if enemy hit a bullet. So I'm going over all of this, checked if this enemy hit the user. Then I can say if and bullets are a list, vector, list, array, whatever you call them. So here I have a list of enemies, different enemies, everyone with C and L. I also have a list of bullets. At the moment I only allow one, but it's a vector, so it can be many bullets. So I'm going with this for I over all these enemies. Nested loops. Later I have to say, okay, check this enemy with every single bullet we may have and check its C and L and see if they hit each other. So I need another loop inside that one. In 0 to the number of word bullet len rev. So a loop on all the enemies. Inside that, a loop over every single bullet we may have. And here we say if word enemy I L equals word bullet J, because I'm checking on J for every single one. Remember this. Sometimes this is confusing for newcomers. Enemies 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I is going over these and bullets 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and J is going over this. So I'm every single time I'm checking enemy number I, so it can be any of these. When I have this, I will loop over these ones once and checking them with bullet number J. and word enemy number I columns equals word bullet number j. Now this enemy is dead. There is an error because of this. You can see something very ugly here. Exactly this bug. This should be L. I have to check this one with the columns of this one. This is very ugly. From the beginning, I defined my word with player C, player L. I define my enemies with C and L. I define my bullets with C and L. I will define whatever with C and L. This is very ugly. In a better structure, I have to have a struct, for example, lock or capital L with C and L. Now I have a concept of location. And I can say bullet has a variable called lock from this type. Word has a variable of lock of this type. Enemies do have a variable called location of type location. This is a struct. And I could implement something like equal on the locations. So it were able to check the locations. That way I would be able to say if enemy location equals bullet location, that's it. Much easier and cleaner. Maybe for the future. We have to save all these issues somewhere. And that somewhere is here. Issues. New issue. Use lock struct instead of C and L. Struct. Submit new issue. Another issue. Sometimes river goes out of band. Today is a cold day and I have problem typing. Okay. This is the one we saw the crashes around here. Used to be line 150 here. So, where were we? I was checking on the physics if this goes by that. If I'm new to VS Code, I used to use Vim. But if we should have a key combination to go to the previous place I was working on. For sure there is, I have to check. Or you have to check now, because otherwise you will never learn. Back. Okay. That's control hat. Yeah, this was not bad. It's difficult. Go. Okay, it's control dash. Silly me. Silly Mac. Okay, we were editing here on the last time. This is what I selected. Before that, we were here. Check the enemy hit something. See? Learn your tool and you will be much better and easier. So, not to waste a lot of time, if word enemy, blah, blah, if an enemy was on a bullet, we have to remove this enemy. So we can say word enemy, remove enemy number I, because we are looping over enemies with I. This should be okay. Let's try. I honestly forgot what I was writing, so hopefully it's done. I can shoot. Cool. Can I shoot enemies? No. No. Once more. It's getting difficult. And this time I did. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I have seen this. You know why? Because here, when moving the enemies, moving the bullets, I'm jumping 2 by 2. So, we have a word here. I'm here. There is an enemy here. I shoot. My bullet is here. Next time, I jump over one and go here. Next time, I go here. Because my ship goes 1 by 1. So my bullet goes 2 by 2, so it's faster than my ship. And I jump here, and I jump over, and my bullet is here. And I never hit this actually. So whenever we are checking if I've hit an enemy, I have to check where my bullet is and its line below. And this is another problem, because this may happen that I'm here on the 0 line, on the last line, and I start a bullet and it checks this and there is an error. So I will always put my bullet after my ship. So when I'm hitting space and creating a new bullet, it will be line -1. Will this create an error if I'm on the last line? Let's try. I have to create a God mode. In God mode, nobody will die, but let's try again. Okay, good enough. Because we are eliminating bullets there. So, where were we? Control dash. I was here. Control dash. Before that, I was here. Here, when I'm checking if I've hit the enemy, I'm checking where the bullet is. I can say, okay, if this is the line where the bullet is, or the next line. If enemy is on my bullet, or just below my bullet. My bullet is below, whatever. Let's see if it's nicer. It's getting difficult. Come, enemy. Come to me. Okay, we get this one. Or enemy L. Line +1. I think. Because it works in reverse. Okay, my bullets are jumping 1 by 1. I would say if word enemy I on the line equals word bullet JL, if exactly on the same line, or the bullet is on my line. Let's draw it. It's always good to draw. Even in the interviews, if you start drawing things, you will think more clear, and the person looking at you won't feel that, okay, this dumb Jody is just doing this. You will show what you're thinking about. My enemy is here. My bullet starts here, goes here, goes here, goes here, and their line are equal. But if I jumped here, I should be able to kill the enemy too. So now enemy's line equals my bullet line -1. So it should be -1. This is my feeling. Anyway, if this was a problematic, I will keep it like that, and you will see why some games do have bugs. Okay, this time I'm not killing anything. I'm saying word enemy I equals or word enemy L equals word bullet J L. Okay, for sure this is plus, because I want it to be down. I can do something very, very, very fun. I can say word enemy L apps diff, this is kind of cheating, but it's fun enough and it can be a feature in our game. Okay, do a diff between this and the bullet on the line, and if their apps was less than or equal 1, so wherever it was, just do it. I think this works fine enough. Where is an enemy? Show me the enemy. Cool. This was good. We killed 2 enemies and the logic is very good. We just subtract them. If it's 0, 1 or -1, just work. And cleaner code. Here I'm not eliminating my bullet. I could do this, but it's more fun. We have a strong bullet and they just continue going. One thing which is not nice is here our energy is always 10, whatever screen you have. We are not future proof. If you will have a large screen with thousands of pixels, this is not good. So I can say word max lines to 2, to 10, to 3. Because I'm jumping 2 by 2, so to 4. My bullets moves half the screen. Good. But now that our bullets are occupying 2 places, let's show a missile. That would be more fun, something like this. So player have a better understanding that we are shooting strong things. So on the draw, I'm moving on the bullets. On the bullets, I can say draw this. Okay. And then go to the line above and draw this. This can be more cool, I believe. Wow. Yes. Now I'm strong. Now our game is more game, and to be honest, it's challenging. It's getting nice. Maybe it's enough. Next steps, we will add scores. So you will have a score here. We will add pause. We will add fuel. That would be nice. We will go for that. Next game. Thank you for being with me. I hope you are enjoying this. If you are in this part of this super long videos, it means that you are enjoying this. Thank you. Tell your friends. That would make me happy and encouraged to create more things. Tell me what you think. And also, if you want to send PR, if it's a large one, please open an issue first. If it's a fix, a bug, solving something, the issues I'm talking about and this kind of stuff, I will be super happy to have yours. And also write same thing in your own language, write on other games, that will help you a lot. Wait for the next ones, we will have fuels, maybe we will go for colors and these kind of stuff. I can even create a readme on the next one and add what we are going to do. I was ready, hope you enjoyed it, tell your friends. Captain, wait, we haven't pushed our code. Let's see that too. Git status. Okay, we have one new file for sure. Later we have to divide it in different files to make it cleaner, like physics and everything, if it gets larger. But I will add this, git commit-m, and a small project I will say second session, adding enemies and bullets. Git push. Enjoy.